afternoon. Good to see everyone. Real quick, I'll reflect after having a chance to watch all three phases of the film. Again, excited for our players that we had opportunity to play a really good football team in Cal Davis and get the W. Of course, there's always things that I think we can continue to improve on. Just some things that jumped out at me along the way. Missed tackles again. I still think there was some on the perimeter. 3 of them in the first half, and you look at three explosive plays given up basically to missed tackles or errors in technique, and they scored 13 points. We gave up 1 explosive play in the second half, and they scored 3 points. And so there is a correlation somewhere there. Some other things defensively. Again, we can tighten down our coverage and play a little bit better. There were some times we were playing off. I think our kids just got nervous. They started to feel like I think the seam threat was the best way. You saw we let one get down the sideline on us. They kind of ran a bench and go, and I think our kids got a little bit nervous over there into the sideline when they went FIB. Offensively, we weren't as accurate as we've been over the course of the first 3 games, and so that's something I think we can continue to improve on. We had some drops that were just untimely and uncharacteristic of our football team up to this point. And then I thought Cal Davis did an outstanding job of getting from over front to under front to Okie and never giving us the same picture up front 2 snaps in a row. And, we've seen about everything up to this point this season from a defensive standpoint. And it's good for our players, but at the same time, I know they were frustrated right after the win because the Rams or the offensive line have a lot of pride, and those guys expect to play better than they did. So I'm looking forward to this week's practice, and I know our kids are. We need to find a couple days here to get our health back, but also continue to improve fundamentally and from a schematic standpoint as well. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Was this non-conference schedule for you guys to have the break when you're having it and to have ended with UC Davis, kind of that number 4 ranking, a top 5 matchup, to be the one that you've got a little bit of time to marinate on as well?
Well, I think it's probably going into the season was a little nerve-wracking because you knew there were some really good football teams that were on our schedule, but to have the quality of non-conference schedule that we had, I think helped our team move along maybe quicker than if you didn't play that high a caliber of opponents. And like I said before, we've seen so many different things from a defensive standpoint for our offense, and Trey's done a nice job of handling it all. So I think that has helped in our development and maybe even expedited the process slightly. From a defensive standpoint, we've had to play a number of different players already. So it's been a challenge for us already just to get the right combination of people in there. But I think you saw again on Saturday 8 to 9, maybe even 10 different defensive linemen playing. James Kaiser playing linebacker just to find a way to get a playmaker on the football field against a no-huddle 10-11 personnel team. So it's been good for us. And hopefully, I don't know what the dividends are right now, Beth, but late October, ask me again, and I probably could give you a better answer.
Do you suspect when you get into the Valley, you're going to continue to see a lot of different looks with teams that are more familiar with you, or are they going to do what they kind of do?
Well, and again, Mike, having been on the defensive side, I'm probably not as familiar with how teams have defended us over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. I do know from just hearsay and spending time with our offensive coaches years past, everyone has a plan for NDSU that is slightly different than what they do on a normal basis. And so I would anticipate we'll see something slightly different from an Illinois State. They're a 3-down team, but it wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden you saw some over, some under, trying to emulate or mimic maybe what someone else has done to us early in the year.
Lance continues to develop. How important was a game like Saturday where things didn't go as smoothly? He wasn't probably as accurate, and there was maybe a little more adversity than he possibly faced in the first 3 games.
Well, it's always good. I think what was even better is just another game under his belt and having 4 games of reps. I think the thing that all of us in here, and I know our staff, continue to marvel at is his composure. You never once saw a quarterback that looked panicked or out of rhythm. He didn't make some throws that we had hoped. He missed a couple reads, and there was one on the power sweep look that we had the fumble on. I think the mishandle was because he wanted to take it back, because I think he'd still be running right now if he'd have kept it. And so it was just one of those. He learned against a good football team, and that was critical in his development as well. But I know he's going to be excited to move forward and get into conference play.
Scout week. I mean, is that where you'll spend some time doing some self-scout stuff, or how will you manage this week?
We will. We'll spend yesterday and today we're spent on self-scout and then a little bit of Illinois State, but we're going to try to start implementing a game plan this week for Illinois State, just and focus on winning the first Missouri Valley football game. And we'll spend 8 days on them. And each side of the football will have probably a period or two dedicated to maybe some issues or problems that other people have exploited along the way in the first 4 games.
You learned about your team, or do you kind of look back at the non-conference thing because it kind of seems separate from when the conference season starts?
I think some things that jump out to me, we have a quarterback who has an undeniable desire to be the best, and is going to do everything he can to put himself into that category. I think defensively, we have a bunch of kids that play extremely hard, not always doing the exact right thing, but sometimes you can look at it as a coach, you make mistakes fast. Sometimes you can cover up for them faster than when you have great speed and great effort. So we're far from being a finished product right now. I don't think anyone on the staff or myself or our players would say that's where we're at, but I like the energy that our kids play with, and the mentality of the offensive line, sprinting to hit somebody, and the aggressiveness. And I'm excited where we're at, and I think we'll continue to lean on those things as we move forward.
Plan all along to roll in 8, 9, 10 guys on the defensive line, or is that something that you have come to the conclusion you want to do as the season's gone on?
Well, I think that's something, as the season has progressed, we've realized that we need to continue to find ways to generate pass rush, and maybe that's wearing the offensive line down a little bit just with fresh bodies. But we didn't know how many snaps. We knew they'd get as many snaps as we'd allow them. And they ran 80 for the day, which is still too many that we want to defend, but we needed to stay fresh. And so anytime they substituted one, we tried to get 4 new D linemen in there, and it looked like a hockey game at some times, like we were bringing another line in.
Most surprised with through the first 4 games of your team? What is you didn't expect in fall camp that's materialized?
I think things that you're pleasantly surprised with are the quality of freshmen that we brought in last year's recruiting class. You start talking about Kobe Johnson and Terrell Hall and Julian Wodarczyk, guys like that who have really, Luke Wirtz, guys who have started to help us making big plays on special teams. Griffin Crosa would be another one. I think that's where you're always pleasantly surprised. You recruit them because the film in high school is really good, but it is a transition to play, college football for NDSU and all the things that go with it, and then you throw on the academics at the same time. I've been really pleased with that incoming class right now. Probably the other thing that would jump out is really pleased with how the staff has come together already. I mean, we're still in month 9 or 10 of being here at NDSU, but to work together, to put the good plans together, to find ways to be creative on both sides of the football, to put us in the best situation to win has been impressive.
You imagine some of those you're going to work this week to get ready for Valley play? You hinted at that on Saturday, I guess. More bodies to play.
We're going to continue to evaluate and continue to develop those guys so they are ready to help us win.
You've learned as a head coach, or do you feel you've transitioned into being more of a head coach as opposed to a coordinator through 4 games?
I hope I have. As far as I've joked about it before, and I talked to Chris yesterday on the phone. I'm still waiting for that owner's manual for the head coaching chair somewhere. No one gave me any directions on how to do it, so trying to do it the best I can. Realize that, early I need to spend more time or spread my energies on both sides of the football. Probably special teams is where I've probably jumped in a little bit more than I had as a coordinator, just seeing the how critical that can be. I mean, you just look at Saturday's game. Griffin, again, 100% from field goals and PATs. The first special team player, the second special team play of the game, we have a huge return that sets up a touchdown from about 30 yards out. I mean, I've tried to get more involved there, give my hopefully good suggestions to both sides of the football, and I'm learning too. But it's easy when you have guys like Randy Hedberg, Tyler, Dave, AJ Blazik, and the rest of the staff. Those guys are good. They hold me accountable as well, and I'm trying to do the best job I can.
Is Griffin your kicker now, or what's the status for your kicking situation?
He's kicking him. He's our kicker right now. There is no status. He's healthy and he's ready to go. So we got to kick him. Jake's still injured and still a ways away from coming back.
You said you had to get better after the Delaware game on special teams. Did you see a notch of improvement against UC Davis with the special teams unit?
Well, we did. We had an explosive play. again, early in the game, and explosive enough that it felt as if they almost didn't want to kick to us on kickoff. Everything was a sky kick, hopefully that we would just fair catch it. I think we're going to make some changes on our kickoff return if teams want to continue to do that, because if we have some threats back there, we can hopefully do some things in the future to still continue to return it. We were 100% on operation. Not every snap was great, and so we'll make sure Ross understands that. But at least from an operation standpoint, we were able to get all our PATs in. We're hit a 42-yard field goal again, which still just giving more and more confidence to Griffin as we move along.
Your punt game so far?
Average. We can be better, and Wegs needs to be better, and Wegs needs to operate quicker back there. Our operation time isn't what we want it to be at this moment.
The naked eye, it looks like you're always kind of on the verge of having a possible block, and you had one blocked in Delaware, obviously.
We did. Yeah, that was part of the problem. We just need to continue to make sure we have the right personnel in there and do a good job of communicating.
It's always go 1-0 this week, and I understand that. But if you take like 10 seconds and think about the fact that this program has won 25 straight games, is that hard to fathom at all? Considering you know how hard it is to win every week in college football.
I know it's extremely hard to win every week, and kudos to the coaches that have hundreds of wins under their belt. I don't think about it much. I try not to think about what's happened and just stay in the moment right now and in the present. I've told every day is a new day for me, and so this is what is today, the 23rd. This is the first September 23rd that I've been a head football coach. I got to make sure that I'm the very best one today. Now, a year from now, I might have a little bit better ability to look at everything from a different perspective.
4-0.
Excuse me?
But how about being 4-0? Do you take a second, take a breath here, and go, that was a strong non-conference start?
Excited for our players. They've worked extremely hard. Excited for our staff and our support people, Jim Kramer and his staff especially. Those are the people that enable us to win games and win tight games like this.
Having that many safeties play, obviously you had James coming back, you're high on Michael Tutsi, but Dawson Weber and even James Kaiser, granted he played linebacker, but it seems like the safety group has shown a lot of depth here early on.
We thought even back in spring that we had an opportunity to have really good depth in the secondary. Yeah, and I don't want to just limit it to the safeties, but you look at our corner position. Destin Talbert is a quality football player. Of course, you have Marquise, who I think is playing at an all-time high right now for him. And then you safeties. Julian Wodarczyk throws in another young. But we got to find ways to get our best 11 on the football field per each situation, and that's why we're playing a bunch of safeties right now. Those guys are good in space. They make good tackles, and as I said on a Saturday, Michael Tutsi finds ways to make plays.
You paid attention at all to what's happened in the league, or is this the week where you look back what's happened with the Missouri Valley out of conference getting ready for league play?
I see a couple scores, but it's probably, as I'm flying through my phone somewhere, I might see a score. I know the team we're about to play, Illinois State, here in a couple weeks is a heck of a football. Their quarterback is an experienced returner. Brock's back teams always play hard. They're going to be well coached defensively. I promise you, they're going to have some big D linemen that are going to, hunker down in there, and we're going to have to work our tails off to be able to run the football.
Like Trey's had his first start, his first road start, his first home start, his first start against the top 5 team, is his first road conference game. Is that another step in the type of situation he has to kind of maneuver early in his career?
I don't know if the first road conference game, because he traveled enough with us last year that he kind of has gone through the logistics of what a road game looks like. I think the biggest thing right now for Trey is he's going to want to continue to improve his execution of the offense, his communication skills, and making sure he gets us in and out of the right calls per every down and distance.